So hello and welcome. I'm going to take a couple seconds to collect my energy because I've been trying to like figure out how to make this go live for like 20 minutes. And you guys can collect your energy as well. I'm going to take a couple seconds and I'm just going to ground. Just imagining all of my energy and attention coming into my physical body. And I often like to imagine that the midline of my body, so the spine, it's like a beautiful magnet. I particularly like the area between my tailbone and between my heart. And I imagine that that's a beautiful, a beautiful, beautiful magnet. And it's just bringing in all of my highest and truest vibration back into my body. Right. And then I'm going to also imagine, you can do this as well. I'm going to imagine sort of turning up the volume on my energetic vibration. And some of you know that I have a lot of times I haven't been sharing this too much, but I've shared it some of the teachings. A lot of times the guides are giving me tones. So at some point you might hear me toning. I'm not going to do that on this Facebook Live, most likely. But right now they're giving me a tone. And so I am going to take a second to hear that tone. Then I'm going to align my energy with that tone. And then I'm going to actually align the energy of our whole group, our whole Facebook Live, and anyone who watches the replays with that energy as well. So take a couple seconds on that. One of the things, and I hope I'm still audible, one of the things about, oh my God, oh, sorry, the delay scared me. One of the things about Facebook too is it shows you the eyeballs of who's watching and they go up and down and it plays with the head a little bit. So I'm going to let that go as well. So I'm just going to take a couple seconds to deepen my breath, get really present for all of you, connect to my highest guidance. And let's do this. So I was going to take a couple seconds to talk about, I think, my three favorite misconceptions about the law of attraction, and then I will answer your questions. And for those of you who don't know, most of you most likely do, but the law of attraction is the idea that everything's energy. You're an energy being. Everything in the world is energy. It's all that's all stuff is made of. And that the way that life works, the way the universe works, is that like energy attracts similar energy to it, right? So there's this law of attraction, this resonance. And what that means is that we often attract into our lives, into our experience, into our space, that which matches the energy that we're putting out. Okay. And so it's a really very simple concept, but it's one that's been really, 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 really misunderstood. And, I think that is the basis that is common with all spiritual teachings, because all spiritual teachings come into our human container, right? And then the mind gets a hold of them and they get distorted. And it's just how things work. And, we also have our human struggles and our human needs and our human desires and our human conditioning. And so it's very rare for any human being to be a completely clear channel for, divine wisdom and teachings. But we can sometimes get close. And that's what I'm going to try to do today. And the other thing that is coming through to say, and I think this is so important, when it comes to these kind of big spiritual teachings like law of attraction, we all really have our own way of understanding them and our own way of experiencing them. And sometimes two spiritual teachers will seem like they're contradicting each other when they're saying like opposite things, and they're not. Okay. Because we just have words. Words are the only things we have to work with. And what I understand and what the guides always show me is they give me the words that you need to hear now, right? Or that I need to hear now. Sometimes it's for me. And sometimes that can change. Also, sometimes some people understand it one way, some people understand it another way, because we all have our own proclivities and our own ways of, I bet you I'm glitching all over the place, which is fun, our own ways of interacting with the world, understanding the world, our own unique conditioning, and our own perspectives. So it's also important to, as I always say, to take what resonates with you and let the rest go. Right? If you're drawn to me and my teachings, then it is very good chance that a lot of the things that my guides have to say resonate with you, and that's great. Sometimes too, something might be like, well, that's the opposite of what I've heard, and then you just feel into it, because again, a lot of times these contradictions aren't really contradictions at all. All right. I'm so glad, Janalee, that I'm not glitching at all. So, because it just keeps telling me it's waiting for a video signal, but if you guys can see me, I am so happy. So I took notes. Let's see how long it takes me to find them. If not, I will wing it because I'm very good at winging it, but I found them. So I'll use them. So the three things that most common misunderstandings I think about the law of attraction. And yes, Tina, I agree. We all have our own definitions and words and language and feelings around the words. And thank you for, I'm so glad that resonates with you. And I think it's important because I have been, when I listen to spiritual teaching, sometimes it feels like two people are saying something different when they're not. They're just going at it from a different angle. All right. Oh my goodness. Okay. So the first most common misconception about the law of attraction is that our thoughts create our reality, right? This idea that if you think something, that is going to just automatically make that thing happen. And this is a great way to give yourself OCD. I know that when I was first introduced to the law of attraction, that's how I understood it. And I would not touch it with a 10-foot pole. Some energy worker I was working with said, you have to see The Secret. There's this movie, you have to watch it. I turned it on and I turned it off. It was so horrifying to me, this idea, wait, now, like, all these years when I'm like freaked out about my thoughts, now you're telling me not only that, but if I think something negative, it's going to like make my life negative. Like I couldn't handle that. And the good news is that's not how it works. Okay. So everybody take a deep breath and go, yes. The thoughts floating around in your mind can give you some information about what's going on in your energy space for sure. And our thoughts often dictate how we feel. And our feelings have a big part in how we manifest. But just because you think something bad is going to happen and then that little thought goes across your radar screen does not mean that you have created that. Okay. Another way to understand it is law of attraction works by the sum total of the information that we put out. Okay. And it's a mix, right? There's a lot of ways in which we might feel very, very optimistic and very, very positive. And then there might be like certain little glitchy spots, where our conditioning is a little louder. It's the sum total. Okay. If something's playing really strong in your space, you may quickly, attract something in, but it's just not the case that every thought, feeling, even every feeling immediately creates what you experience in the outside world. The guides also say it's not always a one-to-one correspondence. So I'm going to give you an example. And this is an example that involves wearing masks on airplanes. So if this is touchy for anybody, just understand, no judgment on these issues. I'm not talking about these issues, but it's just a really good example. So in November of 2020, after a kind of difficult family experience, I took my very first plane ride of 2020 from Connecticut to Miami, and feeling very vulnerable, probably a little bit stirred up, and got on the plane and, feeling pretty comfortable in my mask that everything was going to be fine and okay, and got on a plane in a cabin of people that were not wearing masks. Like nobody was wearing masks and the flight attendants were like not really doing anything. And it triggered for me a feeling of being uncared for, right? Uncared for and unsupported. And what was going on at that point, right? Why did that happen? I was totally fine, didn't get sick, nothing went wrong, everything was good, didn't yell at anybody, it was all fine. But what I recognized was going on is that I was having those feelings pretty much activated in my space just based on everything that I'd been through. And so it manifested, and it manifested in a pretty minor way when you think about it, and oftentimes it does. And so what I like to do, in the way that I like to use law of attraction in the most loving and non-judgmental way possible, I often love to use it as a little bit of a mirror for what's going on inside of me. Okay. And this was a beautiful mirror about what was going on inside of me in that moment. I didn't feel cared for. I didn't feel like people cared about me and my needs, right? The thing in my brain kept going like, they don't care about my safety, right? And who knows? They probably felt perfectly safe without their masks on, right? Because we all have different perspectives. So law of attraction is that sometimes what we experience in the outside world will give us an indication of what's going on inside. Okay. And that's all. And it doesn't mean that you need to police your inner state, because it's your inner state that you're here to work on. And when you create something in the outside world, you've done it for you to work on it, right? I was able to see, oh, I'm feeling a little uncared for right now. Oh, I'm feeling like other people don't care about my needs. All right, how do I tend to that? Right. And I did. And so that is, when we look at it that way, the law of attraction doesn't necessarily become a way to get what you want. It becomes a way of understanding and more consciously participating in life, because the law of attraction is pretty much how life works. Okay. So the first misconception is it's not your thoughts that create your reality. Thoughts affect your energy, and they are energies, and they affect your emotions, and your emotional state is definitely a more powerful message that you're sending out, but it's the sum total of everything that you're putting out. So if you have a repetitive thought that something bad is going to happen, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself around that, and know that that thought alone will not create disaster, right? A lot of times they're just intrusive thoughts, and you can just tune into the thought and ask yourself, what you need right now to feel better. Okay. That's number one. So I'll see if there's any questions on that as I look. And I'm assuming I'm not glitching and this is going okay. I wish now that I had hit record, because it would have been good to save this. But say lovey. The second big misconception on the law of attraction is that it's all, oh, it's okay. Oh, yeah, this is a really good one. If something goes wrong in your life, then it must be your fault. You heard that one? Ever done that one to yourself, right? If you get sick, or if you don't get the job, or if you don't get the house, or if your boyfriend dumps you, right? You must have done something wrong because you manifested that. Okay? I wish I could see you guys to raise your hand if you've ever gone there with your sweet little brains. Because I know I have. And it's really common. And I know some people that I know very well, who are very resistant to the whole idea of the law of attraction, because when you talk about it, what they hear is, are you saying that I caused this? That's what you're saying. You're saying that I caused this. It's my fault. No, that's not how it works. Again, life is always happening for us. That's what it does. And anything that's happening in the outside world is here to serve. And some of the things we like more than others. And, a real Buddhist would tell you, if you have no preferences, then you're going to love everything. So that's one way to go at it. But you don't necessarily have to go there. What's just important to know is that everything is serving you. And yes, there's easy way and hard way. And sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where we're like, oh my God, how did I get here? But it's not because you did something wrong, right? And sometimes it can be helpful, again, like my plane example, right? To, I wonder what invited that experience into my space, right? I wonder what invited that person to yell at me randomly, right? Maybe I'm feeling a little angry. One person, I had a client not so long ago that got bitten by her dog. And we talked about that. And I was reading Louise Hay's book, um, How to Heal Your Life. And I looked up dog bites because I felt intuitively guided to do that. We were reading that in my local book group. And, it was around not being able to express your own anger, right? So things that happen in the outside world are often pointers of what's going on inside. That's all. And you don't have to look at yourself as a project to be fixed. And this is one that yours truly is still working on. You don't have to look at yourself as a problem to be fixed, so the outside world is always perfect. What you just have to understand is this is how life works. And part of, and I want to get this from the guides, that cooperation that we have with life is understanding the process of life, but also agreeing to participate in it, and to participate in it with self-love, with equanimity, with understanding that it's not something that we have to control. It's not like a bucking bronco that we have to grab onto with, all of our might, right? It's just, we put out, we get back. We put out, we put back. Like the waves that I'm looking at right now are like your breath. And we just learn to ride those waves, and we learn to cooperate with life. And as we do that, we become better surfers. We become better surfers. We become more aware of the process. But you also have to recognize that some things are they're just there. They're not, it's a little egocentric to think it's all about me. On some level it is, but on another level it's not. Okay. And egoically it's not. And the ego will want to make everything about, you. And so understand that things sometimes just happen. And in those moments when you want to personalize it and you want to be like, what did I do wrong? And how can I fix it? And I got to use the law of attraction. Those are the times to step back and just honor that life gets lifey sometimes and you're okay. And you're exactly where you should be. And the more you can look at those experiences with equanimity, with self love, the more you can take that step back and come into your calm, peaceful center, the more you'll be able to kind of get back up and ride the wave. All right, gonna drink more tea and just see how we're doing. If there's any questions, feel like I'm talking very quickly this morning, which is kind of silly because I got 3 hours of sleep. All right, I don't see anything. The last misconception about the law of attraction is that, and this kind of goes, is that the main purpose of learning about the law of attraction is to get what you want. Okay. And I've done a couple podcasts about getting what you want. And I like to get what I want. And we all like to get what we want. And a lot of times I actually do get what I want. And sometimes, we get what we want and then we're like, oh, shoot, that's not what I wanted at all. But when we think about the law of attraction in terms of controlling life, thanks, Jen, controlling life, then we're manifesting from a place of ego. And what we really want to do is kind of get out of the way and manifest from a place of love, from a place of joy, from our expanded awareness, because then those manifestations, they're going to like be aligned with our purpose. They're going to be aligned with our soul, and they're going to bring into our life exactly what we need. Right. And, a lot of times you see this so much on social media and such a misunderstanding of how manifestation works. Like, I'm going to manifest $1 million, and there's nothing wrong with that. Love $1 million, it's beautiful. But when we go a little bit deeper than that and we start to align and we start to say, all right, universe, what do you want to bring me in? How can I be a vessel and a conduit for expressing that and consciously creating that and bringing that into my life and streaming that back towards myself, right? As I, so that I can put more love, joy, and amazingness out into the world. When we have that kind of alignment, that's when truly, truly, truly magical things happen, because we become, the word that comes through is co-conspirator with the universe, right? Or a co-creator. But I like co-conspirator too, because it's like a little bit of a winky kind of playful vibe, right? We become a co-conspirator with the universe to do what we're here to do and to live life as our best and brightest selves. And we also avoid a lot of struggle, a lot of like pushing, because a lot of times when we go with the law of attraction from, I have to make this, create this, control this, fix this, we're vibing at the energy of lack, of not having it. And that usually makes it a little slower to get. Okay. When we are able to kind of let go a little bit and look at it like play, look at it like, I'm just painting a picture. And Faye knows about this. I'm just painting a picture because I want to see what I create and I want to have fun with it. And I want to be involved in the process and I want to get out of the way and let, that higher creative energy work through me as I go. We're probably going to be a lot more satisfied with the product that we create, with the process of creating. And it's just a more aligned way to do things. Because again, a lot of what our ego tells us and our mind tells us is what we think we should want, what we think we should do, what we think is good. And there are many people on the planet right now who are amazing manifestors and they're creating that. But most of you are not drawn to my teaching, right? Because you're ready to do a little bit more. And, it does not mean that you can't have abundance, wealth, a home, friends, a partner, joy, good food. Like, I wish all of those things for you and whatever your heart truly desires. It just means that when we aim a little bit higher and we manifest from that more aligned state, the universe will continue to surprise us with stuff that we never could have imagined. The house I'm sitting in here right now exceeds expectations. I never would have imagined it. And yet it came to me. And I don't know that it would have come to me in the way that it came to me say 5 years ago when I was still fixated on, having to kind of micromanage everything and not being able to get out of my own way as much. You know, I still step on my toes occasionally. Okay, those are my three common misconceptions about the law of attraction. And I just want to know if anyone has questions on any of those things. And then I'm going to head up to your other questions. And by the way, it's good to see everyone. I haven't said my hellos to those of you who have said hello. Those of you who haven't, I would love to hear from you because we got quite a few people. But hi to Debbie and Janalee and Tina. That's all I see. I don't know if Cindy was able to get back. So, questionos. Debbie Tripp asks, I'm currently in a twin flame union and I've given my twin flame my heart and soul and love him unconditionally. I'm awakening and had a Kundalini awakening in 2020. I met my twin flame a year later, but he doesn't have the awareness. And so you don't get the same love back. With the law of attraction, shouldn't I get with him what I give? Well, yes and no. So that is such a good question because it's this idea of I give love to a specific person, that person will love me back. And that's a misconception. First of all, I have to say I don't necessarily believe in twin flames. So sorry. I mean, I believe it's probably a thing, but I think it's a thing that we're confused about. So that's a conversation for another day. But hey, Kim. But all good there. If twin flame is a concept that really resonates with you, that is totally fine. I think a lot of times it's used for these very intense relationships, and intense relationships can be lots of things. But Debbie, I would say it's not the case that the law of attraction works such that if I give to a person, I get something back. And sometimes we have a program running in our head from our conditioning, in fact, that I'm the one who always gives, or that I have to overgive to get back, right? And so these are the things that we kind of want to work on because that's what you're sending out to the universe. You're sending out probably a message to the universe that says, no matter how much I love, the people that I love don't reciprocate. The other thing is as I alluded to before, and I think this is even more relevant, is that when you, sorry, I lost the thread, but it will come back. The universe often gives us what we need. First of all, it gives us what we think we want, right? So sometimes we think we want something. Sometimes we think, wow, I want a big, powerful relationship that just feels like, fireworks in the sky that I'm just swept away. And we get that. And then when we get that, there's a lesson in it. And we get what we want, but then we use discernment and we say, well, I want this, but with that big fireworks, like, is that really that satisfying intimacy? Do I really feel heard and seen by this person? Is this really mutually satisfying? And so we always can revise. And the law of attraction does not ever work to control another human being, okay? Because we all have free will. So I'm not a big fan of using it that way. I will say that if you are constantly thinking about having a particular kind of interaction with someone, like maybe every time you go to Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner, Uncle George always like picks a fight with you over politics. And it's so uncomfortable that you worry about it for weeks in advance. Well, yeah, you are feeding into that energy. Right. And so if you want to imagine a different outcome, you can absolutely do that. You can think about, oh, it's going to be really peaceful this time. And we're going to be talking about other things. And I'm going to be so relaxed and I'm going to be so much fun. And Uncle Joe and I are going to have a great interchange and discussion about, our mutual love of owls. And we can help other people stream towards that, but we don't do that to control them. And sometimes you will get a more relaxed atmosphere. And sometimes too, because you have taken your part out of the puzzle by doing your own work, the other person, there's no hook there. They don't care. They don't poke. Or if they do poke, it just slides off. Okay. So that's how we can use the law of attraction when we're talking about other people. Sorry, I got to breathe. But you can't use it to control others. And it's not the case, my friend, that what you put out is always reciprocated. That's not the law of attraction or how it works. What the law of attraction says is the sum total of your beliefs and your energy and your vibration and your feelings, right, that you put out to the universe. And a lot of this is beliefs that you have that are unconscious that you haven't identified yet, but the universe is showing them to you in what you experience in the outside world. The sum total of that is what's extracting these experiences into your space. And so the question is really in the now when I'm having this experience, to intuitively check in with yourself and say, okay, how am I being called to serve here? What am I being called to learn? How am I being called to shift? And what do I want to do to shift the situation within me? Okay, because we can never expect anything from anybody else because they're free agents. But if somebody is not living up to your reasonable expectations, if they're not serving you in a relationship, if a relationship is not mutually beneficial, then by all means, it is totally okay to move on. Okay, so I'm going to release your energy, and anyone else who vibed with that answer, because there are probably answers to more than one question in that one. And then I'm going to take a breath. And I always love Jana-Lee's questions, so I'm excited to read yours. All right. So Jana-Lee says, if we want to manifest something, I can speak. If we want to manifest something specific, it may be a desire that's actually coming from lack because we acknowledge we don't have it. How do we manifest something we don't have without it coming from lack? For example, I'd love to begin work that offers human design readings, and I want to manifest a little hustle okay. So first of all, you can dream, you can be excited, you can imagine yourself doing it. You can, again, excitement is a really good energy for manifesting things. So those things will bring it in. It's more a matter if you're like, I'd love to have a human design, business. I don't know why I don't have a human design business. Like everybody else has a human design business. Like, please, universe, give me a human design business. That's a little bit more lackey. Does that make sense? So it's not the case that you can't want things that haven't fully manifested yet, but it's almost like you recognize that they have manifested because everything's manifested on some level, and you're tapping into the part that's already there, right? By getting excited about it, by streaming into it. A lot of times what happens is we focus on, and I'm going through a little one like that now. We focus on what we don't want. Like, I don't want to feel tired anymore, right? I don't want to not sleep. I don't want to feel this way. And unfortunately, we're focusing on what we don't want, right? So we're strengthening that. Okay. And again, be kind to yourself. That is the most important thing that you can take away from anything I ever say. Be kind to yourself, my friend, because self-love at the end of the day is actually what you're here to do. But just understand that that's how it works. And so by getting excited about things and tapping into the part of it that's already happening, you can stream it into your life. The other thing on this topic too is often easier. And I think I talk about this in the episode, which I hope you'll listen to the episode. We have a couple actually coming up on this topic, and a course, which I'll tell you about in a bit. But sometimes the more attached you are to that outcome, the more you want it, sometimes the harder it is to manifest. So it's good to kind of take that stuff back, have play with it, come at it from different angles and keep it light, keep it fun, keep it joyful, because that's your soul's natural state. And so when your soul is really excited about something and there's fun and there's not that heavy energy around it, it tends to manifest really quickly. Examples for me are around concert tickets, because everybody knows pre all this pandemic masky craziness, I used to go see a lot of concerts, and I like to sit close. And one of my favorite stories is there's an artist, Brandi Carlile. Now people finally heard of her. She got really, really famous, but she wasn't for a while. But she was kind of big already. Anyway, and she's an artist that I've been following for a really long time. And I had tickets to a show, and she had to have surgery, and it was canceled. And then it was rescheduled to a time that I couldn't make it. So it had been about a year since I'd seen her, and I was used to seeing her, a little more, about a year and a half. It was getting on a long time. And I was really and I had this thought. I had gone to see a concert that I really liked, another female person, Regina Spektor, who's awesome, and got front row seats and loved it, and was thinking, this is great, but God, I really want to see Brandi. It would be so good to see Brandi. I really don't want to have to wait till April to see Brandi. And it was just a casual thought of I'd really like this to happen. And a few days later, I was invited through a radio station membership that I had to see Brandi Carlile doing a free, radio station interview concert in a super small venue. I ended up, sitting inches from her, like inches from her. And it was one of the funnest experiences I've ever had. And it was just a thought. It was just a thought of like, oh, I think I would like to have this experience. And there it was. And that is the magic of the law of attraction. And the reason it attracted so easily and so quickly because I had fun and ease and joy with it, right? I wasn't sitting there up at night saying like, God, please, I have to see Brandi Carlile. My life depends on it, because it didn't, right? And so oftentimes, when we can bring that level of play and joy, that frees us up to manifest really quickly and smoothly. And again, it's tuning into that part of your soul that already knows that everything is already yours and that you already have streamed everything into your life. And it's all there. And it's more about you tapping into what you've already created so that you can make it more real than, you're not actually creating anything from scratch. Okay. Whew. All right, I'm gonna see if there's any other questions. I've been at this a while. This was so much fun. While I'm waiting to see if anyone else has any questions, I am going to tell you about a couple things going on this week on the podcast, talking about, guess what, the law of attraction. And I share a little story about something I manifested in my house that kind of surprised me, but also made me really, really, really happy. And just one of those magical reminders that the law of attraction is always happening. And that when we look for the miracles that are happening all the freaking time, that also raises our vibration and taps us into the magic of our creative nature, right? So another little hack is look at what is working. Look for the miracles that are happening for you. And when you do that, it makes it easier for you to stream to those areas where you might feel a little bit more stuck or a little more lacky, right? Notice where it's already happening because it is. Next week is another episode on the law of attraction. And then we have some amazing guests. We have Rob Schwartz, author of Your Soul's Plan. We have Jacob Nordby, author of The Creative Cure, and Blessed Are the Weird, which I have yet to read, but I am just in love with the name of that book. And yours truly is also going to be doing a panel, a vision board panel. This is already in February, so you'll hear more about that. But I'm going to be doing a vision boarding event with Jacob Nordby and his group. So I'm really excited about that. Before that, I have a class coming up, a 4-week class on the law of attraction, starts next Tuesday at, I don't know what time, but something in the evening for you guys and something in the afternoon for me. I think it's like 7 Eastern. Well, I don't actually know when you all are, but all the people that are showing up are Eastern time zoners. But anyhow, it's going to be really fun. So if you're interested in learning more about the law of attraction, more Q&A, more deep dive, more exercises, and more conscious creating for 2022, because this is the year where we really have a choice. Do we want to move with those higher energies that are streaming in to support all of us and create our lives based from there? Or do we want business as usual, which is, it's been funky. So if that speaks to you, Jen will put the link here in the show notes, but it's all over the place, and it's going to start next week. And I think we have one more day for the early bird pricing, which is $55 for 4 90-minute sessions that are all recorded. So it's not a bad deal. It's going to be really fun, and I'm looking forward to it. All right, Debbie has a question, so I'm going to drink some tea, look at that, and then we'll go. And thank you guys all for coming on today. You don't know how much I needed this. This is so much fun. Debbie says, I often find when I speak what I want out loud in conversation with a friend, it happens within a relatively short period of time. Not every time, but noticeably often when I'm not talking for the purpose of bringing it forward, but it works anyway. Yes, you said a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant thing, right? When we are, oh my God, I got to make it happen. Oh my God, I got to make it happen. Oh my God, I got to make it happen. We're getting like, okay, thanks. I'll look for Cindy's question. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Jen. Back to Debbie. When we're in that heavy energy, right, it slows our creation. It slows the creation down because, we're pushing the river because we're feeling into the not having it, because we just want it so bad. When we're just having a conversation with someone and playful and saying, God, it'd be so cool, like to have, I don't know, a new restaurant, like I really miss French food. Why isn't there a French restaurant in our neighborhood? And then you find one, right? that's because it's that, again, like I said with the Brandy Carlisle example, because it's just that lighthearted, joyous kind of thing. We just stream it into our lives. And again, as your vibration raises, and as you, play with this more, you will create very, very quickly. It is amazing to me how quickly I create. So this weekend, one of my issues is I'm living alone for the first time in 30 years. My son was living with me, but he's moved out. My husband's on the East Coast, and that's been a little bit funky for me. And I just moved here, so I am meeting people, but I don't have the support system that I necessarily had on the East Coast. And this weekend I was feeling, into that space. And I had, a neighbor had reached out to invite me to something, but then she canceled because of COVID. And then somebody else, a high school friend, was like, "Hey, I'm in town tonight. Do you want to hang out?" I found out that I have a high school friend that lives, another high school friend that lives like 30 minutes from me. So she wants to hang out. So another person reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to go for a walk at the beach?" Right? Law of attraction in action. Right? I had a longing. I had something. I let it kind of marinate without getting too negative about it, and it just flows in. And that is really how it works. Okay? And again, the heavier it is, sometimes the harder it is to manifest. So those are the times to do that healing work, to do that self-love work, to do that caring work, and to sit with yourself and say, "Hey, human, I love you. And I understand why you might be feeling this way. And I understand, and this is part of our journey, and we're going to do this, and I love you." And that ask your guidance, like, how can we help? How can we move forward? And what are our next steps here? And then focus also on what is working. All right, Cindy's question, and then I think we're going to tone it down. So get your questions in fast. Cindy says, "I feel like I'm overly manifesting and it makes me a little worried about thinking about what I want. Can this be, or am I overthinking?" No, I think it is the case, in that you come with stuff with so much energy and excitement, and then it's offered to you. Your task, my friend, will be to say no, to use discernment, right? And to decide, well, just because, it's like, look, if you go to a restaurant and maybe it's one of these like buffet things, tasting menu things, or maybe it's just the hors d'oeuvres that are passed around at this big party, and people keep bringing you hors d'oeuvres. That's really cool. You're experiencing your abundance. You're experiencing your creative nature. It does not mean that you have to take an hors d'oeuvre off of every single plate that is offered to you, right? You're going to get sick if you do that. Sometimes you're going to take a bite of the shrimp wrapped in a pea shoot, which I saw in Harry Met Sally for my yearly watch this year. And I was like, I don't understand why it's called. Anyway, it was weird. But I digress. You can tell I haven't slept. Um, but right, sometimes you're going to take a bite of something. You're going to be like, "Yeah, no, no, I thought I wanted it, but I don't." That's life. And so life is bringing you a lot of things because you have a lot of excitement and a lot of energy about them. And so you're playing and you're creating a lot, but you don't necessarily have to be overwhelmed by the creations. You have choice. You have free will. And I think it'll help you to really tune into what you do want, but also realize that you're a powerful creator, which is really, really cool. But you don't have to be afraid to think it, right? Remember, if you create it, you can say yes or no to it. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. Guys, this has been so much fun. Did I get everybody, Jen? I'm waiting for Jen. Pausing is good. I get so excited on these things. I talk so fast. All right, it looks like I got you all. This has been so much fun. I'm going to take a couple more seconds to clear the energy, listen to the episode, sign up for the class. I'd love to see all you guys there. We'll be playing for 4 weeks. It'll be so much fun. And I just realized this is our first live of 2021, so that's really exciting too. And I'm glad I was able to make it happen. And one more thing I'll say to you, because I know a lot of you guys do a lot of the lives. When we post the live event, that's usually not where the link is. I usually go separately because it gets funky with those. And if I have to Zoom because it's a guest, I can't Zoom to the link. I can only Zoom directly to the group. Today I Zoomed because Facebook wouldn't let me go live the old fashioned way. But if I have a guest, and I think I mentioned, there's some really good guests coming up. We also have, we're going to get some readings with, oh my God, I'm blanking on her name. Tina oh, I can't remember her last name, but a really, really, she's so cool. And she channels like her ancestors and her grandma, and it's very, very cool. So there's going to be a lot of fun lives. So the best thing to do is either turn on notifications for the group, because I don't post all that much, or search for it on the day of when I say I'm going live. Tina Hines, thank you. Um, so all of that's coming up soon. I have some good interviews lined up too for this year. So lots of good stuff coming up. So anyway, I want to thank you all. I'm going to take a couple seconds now again to collect my energy. To separate all of our energy, and to wish you all an amazing day, year, and 2022. So thank you guys all for tuning in, and have a wonderful day. Namaste.